Look at the person next to you and ask them, are you mature? Are you mature? Ask that person again. Look at the next person and ask them, are you mature? Right. Now, maturity is revealed, greatly revealed in three ways. A, in character. Your character. So Paul called the Corinthians babes because they lacked integrity and character. What is character? Character is being the same person no matter the circumstance. Now, if we are always waiting on situations to be ideal and situations to be what we want it to be steadfast and to keep following Christ and to keep serving God and to keep attending church and to keep making progress and to keep growing in our mind and to keep growing in our spirituality, you have a very long time coming, waiting. Why? Because life is not like that. There would never be a point in your life where all the ducks lines up. More often than not, there is always something in your life to challenge you. More often than not, there's always something in your life that pulls on your faith. More often than not, there's always something in your life that if you let it, will hurt you. But because now we ought to grow and reach a level of maturity, we cannot allow circumstances to change how we operate. It's either you are a thermometer or you are a thermostat. A thermometer, it responds to the temperature. The thermostat sets the temperature. Which one are you? Ask your neighbor, are you a thermometer or are you a thermostat? Come on. Ask your neighbor. Are you a thermometer or those of you online? Type that. Am I a thermometer or am I a thermostat? Because I want to let you know, if you are a thermometer, you would never be faithful to God. Because even in serving God does not guarantee that all things is going to line up perfectly for you. There would always be situations. There would always be difficulties. But this is where you have to be a person of character who doesn't change no matter the circumstances. Oh my God. Look all through the Old Testament. Look at Daniel. They said to Daniel, nobody is to make any petition of their God for 90 days. Was 90 days, Apostle? For 90 days. Daniel, the Bible says, he opened the window just as normal and began praying. Now, what is my point? The situation was dire because whosoever they found praying will be thrown into the lion's den. Daniel didn't close his door to pray. Daniel didn't close his window to pray. Daniel opened his window, knowing right through, knowing full well that they're going to see him praying. But the circumstance did not change who he was. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. Is the circumstance changing you? Or are you working to change the circumstance? This is where your character comes in. I am going to do this, what God told me to do, no matter what comes my way. And this is a stick-to-itiveness that caused the patriarchs to be recorded in the Bible. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 that these things are written for our examples and for our admonition. So when we look at them, when we look at what they endured, when we look at what they fought through, when we look at what they rallied through, or to give us confidence to hold on when we are going through what it is we are going through. But people who are not mature don't have character. The Hebrew boys, the furnace would be hot 7 times hotter. Nebuchadnezzar, you do what you want. But you see, what you want us to do there, that goes against our nature. Bowing to statues goes against our nature. We, as sons of God, do not bow to anything else. But look at the circumstance that surrounds them. You know what it is? The fire was so hot that the men who were going to throw them into the furnace jumped out and slew the men. You understand that? But they said, we are not even what? Mindful to respond on this. We would stand and hold true to our what? Character. Look at the person next to you and ask them if they have character. Come on, come on. So Daniel, the Hebrew boys, David, Abraham, oh, look at any patriarch in the Old Testament and in the New. Things were not always right. There are people who the only time they want to come to church is when they're happy. The only time I want to do worship is when things are going good. The only time I want to preach is when all my ducks, everything is all right. The only time I want to pray on the instrument is when everything is okay. The only time I want to do that which I said I'm going to do is when I am feeling a particular way. But the just live by faith and not by sight. Sight speaks of sensual perceptions. My sensual perceptions should not judge my faith or should not inform my faith, but my faith ought to inform my sensual perceptions. What I'm feeling is not real, but what I know in my spirit and what God has said to me is more real than what it is I'm seeing and what it is I'm feeling. So one of our greatest enemies is sight. Because sight sometimes causes me to see what is. But sight does not give me the wisdom to see what could be. And what could be and what will be is what God said to me and God download in my spirit. So do you have character? Or do I have to work on my character? And listen now, this is really our elementary preaching. And when I say elementary, it means that these are things we hear for years. We hear for years. But we find that we don't see it fleshed out. Because people need to understand the word will work only when you work it. You have to work it. All the principles that come from this pulpit does nothing for you until you apply it. Nothing. Now, I mean, when we reach and there's a frequency and we worship, we could do things in this environment. But the bulk, it rests on you applying the word. Jesus said to the man, go and wash. Go and wash. Go and do this. Go and do that. One, so our maturity is highlighted in our character. Number two, in our concentration. Are you able to remain focused in the midst of noise, in the midst of the noise? We live in a noisy world. Look at social media. We live in a very noisy world. And noise is not always about that what is happening outward. Noise is more so about what is happening inward. So your brain waves are always in anxiety mode. The way your thought patterns is always what if and what I got to do and what is happening and there's a set of noise. But do you know that even though there's noise in your life and things are not operating in your life, that your blessing is still waiting on you through concentration, focusing on what God has said to you? Am I in the house? Now listen this. If you all don't hear anything that I'm saying, take this. What seed should you be sowing now to get the harvest you want in the future? I could done preach. I'm going to repeat. What seed should you be sowing now to get the harvest you want in the future? Your future, my sister used to tell me this and I used to get vexed with her. What you do now would affect you later in life. And I used to tell her, girl, stop talking stupidness and things. When I was younger, I would get very angry when she said that. Right? But it's truth. Your future Your future is predicated on what you do now. Hear me? What seeds you sow now, it is what you're going to reap in the future. Stick with me and get into that point. So therefore, in a sense, I determine my future now. I feel I better close up. I'll just bring one more point. I feel I better close up. No, because what seed should you be sowing now? Ask yourself that question. What should I be doing now to get the future that I want? The best way to predict the future is to create it. Created by sowing the seeds. No, Pastor Shinoy, but that is not in the Bible. That is not in the Bible. Here's the Bible. So, what a man sow, you're going to reap. You want money in the future? What seed do you have to sow now? You want better health in the future? What seed do you have to sow now? You want better relationship in the future? What seed do you have to sow now? But you see, people who don't focus cannot sow seed. Apostle, I feel people who don't have focus do not sow seed and cannot sow seeds. I'm not just talking about seed of money. Understand what it is I'm saying. What books are you ought to be reading now for your business to go to another level? You see, we love miracles. Miracles. We love miracles. But if we manage, there would be very need for miracles. Pastor Shinoy, what are you talking about? Whatever you mismanage, you will lose. But if I manage my health now, the chances go up that I will not get sick in the future. That is a principle. Oh my God. If you mismanage your finances now when you are young, when you are old, you would have nothing to fall back on. If you mismanage your relationship with your children when they are young, when they are old, they will not respect you. Or even if they respect you, they will not be close to you. If you mismanage your relationship with your wife, no. When you all are young, a time is going to come where it would seem like nothing could help that relationship. What seed do I need to sow now to get the harvest that I would like in the future? It takes concentration. So our maturity, it is revealed in our character. Number 2, in concentration. And, no, that is B. And C, in our concepts. The way that you think. The way that you think. The body is the instrument of the mind. You could know the level of somebody's maturity by the way they operate. Let me leave that there. Let's go a little deeper. So these ways our maturity is tested. So our major problem was 1, maturity. And number 2 is mindset. Mindset. For those who take in note. Mindset. Empowerment Temple International, those who are online. I'm going to say something very simple here. Very, very simple. And if you catch what it is I'm saying here, your life will change. Something real simple. And I'm going to take my time and say, we have to start thinking on a higher level. Look at the person next to you and say, you, come on, please. You have to start thinking on a higher level. You have to start thinking on a higher level. As a man think, I'm going to say something as a cliche, but I'm going to repeat it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So my life is actually a manifestation of my thoughts. I could know the way that a man thinks by the way how he lives, the way how he carry about himself. Is he always clean? How he speaks to people? How he look? You could know what somebody what somebody thinks just by the way they speak. Now let's go a little deeper. You have to start thinking on a higher level with regards, and I'm going to say this, to business. Those who are into business. You have to start thinking on a higher level. Number two, you have to start thinking on a higher level as it relates to family. Too much petty things causes rifts in family. If your family member, your close cousin, borrows $200 from you and refuses to pay you back, you can't just say, yeah, well, you have my money, you ain't pay me back. Don't ask me for no money. I'm not vexed with you, but don't ask me for no money again. I'm just saying. And continue on and, be friends with them. You just know what bracket to keep them in. I mean, if they're reaching a dire need, the Christian and the hard thing to do is to help, right? But you're going to let $200 spoil you and a good cousin or a sister? $200, and you have. Now, if you don't have, because 200 to some people is like a fortune. But I can't preach about everything today. Let's just stay in the context, right? $200. Can't just say, or bring somebody to mediate. How do you value family? No, there are different, Pastor Shinoy family members don't only borrow money. There are different things that they do to you. All right, but what could we do to help the relationship? To keep the relationship? You have to keep, why? Because if I cannot be close with my family, who my flesh and blood, who to be close with? Family. You have to start thinking on a higher level when it comes to your family. Those who have children, what could I do in my children's life to put them in strategic positions in society where they would in turn hold the pen and they wouldn't have to fight with prayer? Prayer is good, but my family, my children, the level of my thinking towards them must not just be for them to go to junior sec, get a level 5 subject, and end up in the police service. Higher level. What could I do to make this child the best that he could be? Oh. We have to start thinking on a higher level with business, with family. Somebody say, Pastor, I heard somebody say, wow, one thing with Pastor Shinoy, you always talking about money and wealth. Somebody say that. But I analyzed my preaching and I found that that is not to be true. You all could attest to that. But I find I don't talk about wealth and finances enough. Poor people don't have any influence. No, I'm not slighting at anybody who's not fortunate enough to have money right now, but understand the context. For us to have influence, for us to have, one of the ways is by finances. That is one of the ways, is finances. Am I in the house? But I don't want to delve too much in that. So we have to start thinking on a higher level with family. We have to start thinking on a higher level with business. And we have to start thinking on a higher level with goals, setting goals. And number 4, with manifestation. How do I manifest what it is I'm being taught? There are people who you could start a topic with them and they would start to give you information. But ask, what are you doing? And a big part of manifestation is your environment, the people who you are around. Now remember, you can't change the people around you, but you could change the people around you. Some of you all will get it when you go home. You cannot change the people around you, but you could change the people around you. Some of you will get it when you go home. So, the major problems that we face is number one, maturity. Number two, mindset. And number three, mastery. Mastery. Mastering something. In the workplace, there is virtue and there is value. Virtue is good. Being an honest worker is good. Reaching on time is good. Virtue, not backbiting on your job and things like that, is good. That is virtue. But when it comes to your output on the job, it must be that of value. What are you doing to make the place or the contribution in your workplace better? Now, what is my point? People who master things could never be ignored. Could never be ignored. One of our greatest problems is that we are satisfied with good. Satisfied with good. Good is not best. One of our greatest enemies is being average. We could speak okay. We could preach good. We could worship good. We could play an instrument good. Am I mastering? Now, in your personal life, you want to know how this applies to you. Whatever you find your hands to do, do it with diligence. So I'm speaking to myself as well. Because one of the issues I was reading up on the Jewish people, and I was just reading why they were so successful. And what they discovered is the Jewish people, they valued two things. They valued education and they valued business. They valued education and they valued business. And whenever they were in education, they would go to the high top. So if they're into medicine, they would go on to specializing. If they are engineer, they would go to getting a PhD. Whatever they go to the highest rank. So they valued education and they valued business. Whenever they do a business, what they would do is they would have a lot of links, and they would all pool together and build and master whatever they are doing. So if they are selling clothes, they are the masters in clothes distribution. If they are selling toothpaste, their toothpaste must be the best toothpaste. If they are lending money, their system and the way they collect money and the way how they distribute the money, it must, stand to your feet please, it must be the best. Why? Because there's a level of returns that comes with mastering. No, the world cannot ignore you if you master. If you master preaching, if you master teaching, if you master writing, listen to this, if you master cooking, if you master business, whatever you master, the world, stand to your feet please, the world could never ignore you. So, what should we do then? Number one, the way that we apply what we learn. the way that we apply what we do. The way that we apply the information that was given to us. We have to be, we as the church, and when I say the church, I'm speaking in generally, you as a person, we have to come to a place where we are manifesting, where we are fleshing out that which we know. Because if we are not doing that, we will be saying, we will be keep singing all the nice songs and making all the nice cliches and doing all the nice things, and we will not be seeing it manifested within our lives. So I am an heir of God. Yes, that is possible. But then there are certain principles that God has outlined. Listen, the Bible says that Jesus, the name that Jesus got, Jesus didn't get that name just because he was the Son of God or he was the only begotten Son of God. The Bible says in the book of Philippians that because of him being a man and humbling himself as a man and being on the cross and dying and becoming a servant, the Bible says, wherefore God has highly exalted him and given him a name. So there was something that Jesus had to do for him to get that name. And when I say get that name, I mean that yes, he was called the Messiah, but the manifestation of him being the Messiah, there was something he had to do. Now let's go a little deeper. Even God himself, there was something he had to do for him to be revered and for him to be known throughout the earth. And it's not just in creation. God said, for this cause that I raise up Pharaoh, that I may destroy him, that my what? That my name, why? You are looking at me like, that my name would be known throughout the world. There was something that God had to do. There was something that Jesus had to do. And you know what? There's something that you have to do. So sometimes people are not growing and life is not changing because you are not changing. Life is not getting better because you are not getting better. Life is not improving because you are not improving. But my word to you today is this: seek to improve, seek to get better, seek to get more, seek to manifest more, seek to change your mindset, seek to change your character, seek to change your concept, seek to change the way that you speak. Seek to change the people that are around you. Seek to go higher. Seek to know more about God. Seek to know more about what you read. Seek to know more about the Word. Seek to know more about the Spirit of God. Seek to know more about whatever field you are in. Master that field. Master the field. Be that exception. Don't just run with the crowd. You cannot run with the crowd and stand out at the same time. And to stand out, it would cause you to make some sacrifices. It would cause you to think differently. Sometimes a sacrifice, we think that a sacrifice is just for today sometimes, and I make one. No, sometimes a sacrifice has to be made from level to level to level. And when you look back sometimes, you wonder, when my time comes, the amount of sacrifices you make. But the principles remain same. You are an heir of God. Seek to mature. Seek to develop our mindset. Get books, good books to read. It don't have to be thick books. It could be 10 books. Well, Pastor Shinoy, I don't like to read. Well, read what you like until you like what you read. There must be something you are interested in. So I'm interested in Heir. I like Heir. Read. Get a tin, like a little tin manual on Heir and start reading that. And it will build, you would build the momentum for reading. You like cars, you like engines, whatever. Build the momentum. Because let me tell you something. The man that could read and doesn't read has no advantage of over a man who cannot read. So I'm saying to you today, I know we are few in number, but that don't change. You know, there's this local palangs that we say in Trinidad, big agouti, small agouti. They don't take out the cartridge and say, nah, that's small agouti. Big agouti, small agouti, same shot. So I pray that you have received something of value. You are blessed and you have received something to apply. And now I hand you over to Minister Ivan. Minister Ivan, God bless.